Okay, I didn't ever email this one to the lawyer, but this is, as you can see, the date is the 16th, 2024. Let me try to do that. So it's on. Okay.
Hi, may I speak to Brian Doss, please?
Who is this?
This is Billy Gordon with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Macon.
Hey, what's going on?
You had called, I think you had spoke with Leah McEwen, possibly, concerning some property that you had purchased from Albert Walker.
Yes.
Okay, I'm calling about that. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, because we had a lien on that property, and so you probably don't have clear title.
Right. We're, yes, I had a guy, and I told her I had a different attorney doing the litigating now than did the quiet title, because I told her he don't really do litigation, and he doesn't really do litigation, and I don't think it was his cup of tea. He was willing to do it, but I'd filed a quiet title, and the reason Albert is basically, long story short, saying that he did what he was supposed to do to redeem it. Well, yeah and no. I got a mysterious black woman had called me. I knew she was black. I knew she was younger. Had called me, and still don't know who it was. The lady never gave me her name. Didn't say her relationship. Just said she was representing Albert Walker. Could have been anybody. And so it was just sketchy. They ended up sending me a generic quitclaim deed and a check in an envelope, but I sent it back to the address and addressed it back to them, the address where I got the mail from, and they never accepted it. And I thought that was strange because Mildred Walker had accepted our sheriff's service, and she didn't accept my check, and the check said Mildred Walker on it. So we
now is this all for this property at Bonvilla Drive?
Yeah, so we went through, she never reached out and contacted the attorney on his phone number, whatever. This whole time the check was in limbo towards about the end, and I just got it back and said, well, I'm going to hold it for the next however long until the barment runs. It ran, we filed or whatever. Albert got out of jail claiming that I need to get it back to him, and the city in that time frame had took me to court, was going to write me a ticket saying the house was structurally unsafe. Albert said it was my fault that he lost the asset. I dug into it, or the attorney doing the quiet title, he saw the amount of the lien. It was very large. It was like $220-something thousand, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, Albert countersued me for a good bit of money, and I just thought it was baseless because the property was no good. The house was no good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was no good. Come to find out when I dug in doing my research on Pacer, that it'd been set fire to 3 times that it could be proven. And I was like, wow, well, that's why the attic in the house is slumping, and the trusses are slumping, and the ceiling's falling, and the spine of the house across the roof is sinking a little bit. And so the city did kind of have a point. I was fighting them on that, but the more I looked at it, I was like, wow, he's suing me for lost rent, and the house hadn't been rented since 2013. The only utilities that had been on was some garbage got cut on there to throw some trash away. So
how did you get title to this property?
I bought it at a tax sale.
It was a tax sale, okay.
And great.
Do you have the documentation from that tax sale, a deed? Did they issue a deed to you?
A tax deed, they did, and it's lost somewhere at probably another house in the bottom of a tote or something. But it's recorded at the Grady County Courthouse in the deed book, the tax deed. And then I filed a barment. We served notice to the Department of Justice, and then the quiet title process, they also served them notice. I think Jim Fletcher was this guy, the attorney who was doing that, and he'd reached out to an attorney in Atlanta with the Justice Department, and he was talking about getting them to release the lien for my sake, but Albert contested it. Albert knows the property, whatever. He's just trying to get some money out of it. Miss McElwain had introduced me to another notion. Maybe he was just trying to get it back in his name to maybe do another insurance claim on it.
Okay.
But Yeah, I was hoping she could cooperate and we could subpoena her to question her about the property, what she knew about it, what she knew about Elbert's, his ways, how he kind of moves and how he kind of does things. Because my whole defense was, yeah, we got a check, but I didn't know who from. Nobody ever reached out to me. They never wanted to meet face-to-face with me, show me ID. I never heard from Elbert.
Now, was this back in 2018?
19. 18 was the tax sale. 19 was the debarment.
Okay.
And in 21, in the summer of 2021, the quiet title was filed. And I was telling...
I don't have any notice that we received notice of that in the Middle District. If the attorney spoke to someone in the Northern District, that has, or the Middle District.
Middle District, okay. Yeah, that may be some cause for concern. I mean, at this point, I'm trying to keep somebody like Gilbert from getting a judgment against me, which I don't think is right. And it's been a hassle to me to have to fight it and deal with it, and it's cost me money.
I'm not really sure how he thinks he can get a judgment if you purchase the property through a tax sale.
Yeah, and I never rented it. I never derived any income. I didn't board the windows up until like a year or two later when the city made me, or they was going to put a fine. I cut the grass once a year to keep from the city from cutting it and putting a $150 lien against the property. Mm-hmm. I do that just for whatever. The city won't allow me to pull permits to do any repair to it. They say it's structurally whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot. And I got this guy suing me for lost rent over those 4 years when he was in and out of jail, and he didn't have the means back when he had money to rent it out.
Right. And so you have contacted an attorney about that?
Yeah, we're actually going to trial next week over the quiet title. And it's in front of the Emily Richardson lady. I don't really know her.
We need to get a copy of that quiet title because, according to our records, we haven't been served.
Okay. Yeah, I need to run that by my attorney and see if we didn't do.
Yeah, find out if he has documentation where it was served, who received it, because I do not have a copy in my file.
Okay. Yeah, he.
And who was your attorney?
It'd have been Jim Fletcher that did the quiet title, and I called 40 attorneys in Fulton County before I got one that would pick up this case midway through. So I don't know. It's an exhausting. I got a lot of.
You're probably thinking now, why did I buy that property?
Well, yeah, I know. I got a lot of other stuff going on in life, and
right.
The only thing that makes me anxious about is the amount I'm getting sued for. Elbert saying the house was worth $80. And I've got me and him on video talking about the house because I told the Jim Fletcher guy, says, I've told you the details and how the whatever. I said, yeah, I guess I could have done the quiet title, but hell, at the time, I had never even spoke to anybody. I've had people redeem from me before, a lot of people. I've never had nothing this strange. I said, it just seemed fishy. I hired an attorney. I mailed the check back certified mail. Why not accept the mail, get your check back, and then turn around and call my attorney and say, hey, I sent a check to your guy. Why didn't he do it? That would have been the honest, normal, reasonable thing to do. But I think they were trying to scheme and scam. And I think Elbert, I told my attorney this, y'all's attorney was saying they thought he just wanted it back in his name so he could maybe do another insurance claim. Maybe not fire. It could have been another claim.
Sure.
Could have been a Hurricane Michael claim or something. I mean, there's no telling. But, or claim any damage, whatever. But I read where he sued a mortgage company after he screwed the insurance company out and he lied about it in court. And I remember looking at that and I said, who in the hell would sue a mortgage company when you had forged their name on a check and got $45,000 that nobody could put their hands on because you and your attorney and Cordell had made off with the money?
Yeah.
I mean, who has the gall to do stuff like that? And he had told me on video that he had it rented up until the day he went to prison, I guess in 2016, but the records show otherwise. There's never been any water and power turned to it. So he's very confident when he doesn't have reason to have any confidence at all in his story or situation. And so I told my attorney, I said, we're pretty much going to win this for sure, right, on this counterclaim. He's like, well, you never know. You never know how the court's going to rule. And I'm like, oh, shit, what in the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I hadn't gotten any benefit from it. The house is basically a lot at this point, and he's suing me. So I said, let me reach out to this prosecutor, because the prosecutors know this case inside and out. They know Elbert inside and out.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't able to testify at trial. She said for some reason an appeal he had filed or something. I don't know. But I was hoping she could because it might help, because the tragedy would be me actually losing to this bullcrap case answers thing he's got going on. The judge fall for it.
Yeah.
And me, I feel like I shouldn't even have to go through it. But,
right.
But yeah, it's been a hassle. And down in South Georgia, it is a haven for crooks. And I mean that.
Yeah.
No offense to your profession, but you got some judges and lawyers down here they'll just do whatever they want to do. And brazen and just be like, yeah, we're just going to do it. So what? You know?
Yeah.
And the Chief Justice in this circuit, there's a lawyer in Cairo that I knew if Elbert worked with him, I know this in my gut 100% that he could have got me to do that quiet title, went, then titled it from his name to somebody else's, and they claimed they had bought my interest, thus bought my position as the tax deed holder, and then used the person he deeded it to then foreclose and bar and get that $200,000 lien off there. Because ultimately, if he was renting it, I know y'all have maybe some right to the rent, or at least at sale time, y'all would get the money to satisfy the lien, which maybe say he could fix it up and sell it for $80. Y'all would get the 80. He wouldn't be able to touch it. And so when I went to his house and I said, we'd made a deal, I said, look, I'll do a contract for deed if you'll drop this thing. The house isn't worth no value to me. My attorney said, yeah, be smart. You ain't a guarantee you're going to win. See if he'll let you do a thing. And I said, well, he don't have much money. I'll tell him $500 down, $100 a month. I've got $10,000 in it with all my legal fees and whatever. And filing the year's taxes, most of that's legal fees. He says, yeah, if he'll do it, and if he'll withdraw his answer, and, you know, he can just quiet the title himself down the road. I said, or you can tell him that, he said, this ain't really ethical, but you could tell him to do a contract for deed, sign something saying you'll for sure sell it to him. Him withdraw his answer, you go through the quiet title, and then you title it back to him. Now, that would be something that would be finagling a way for him to still get title. Well, even with that onus, he still gave me a deed that he worked up, because I told him he could work it up. If I said, you know, you don't have to trust me. I like to be put in a position where people don't have to trust me. We just do it all on paper. And he gave me a deed with a Shamika Farrell on there. It wasn't even him. And that surprised me. And that's when I realized his scheme from the get-go was to get my position, use my position as leverage and get it in somebody else's name, and then use my position, the power I had as the tax deed holder, to then bar all those liens right off and then quiet the title down the road.
Yeah.
And you thinking Grady, no judge would sign off on that, would they? Well, they're not supposed to, but yes, they would. Down here, they do what they want to do. The law is secondary. The law they follow if it meets their liking. If it don't, they just kind of wiggle around it. And I know he's pissed off at me by me sending that check back. I threw off the whole little scheme. I know that's what happened. He's just pissed off at me, and he's resenting me for that. So he's like, I'm going to sue him and scare him and get him to give in to me.
Yeah.
He's probably green. He's never been sued. I hadn't. I'm worried. I've never been in a lawsuit. I've never been sued. And so I'm just like,
I mean, he doesn't care. He's been thoroughly convicted, so he's not worried about anything.
Yeah, he don't care. He's got nothing to lose. And so I said, you know, if anything, I'm going to alert. If anything, when I call this prosecutor, I guess she alerted you. If he does somehow prevail, that you guys are on it like a bloodhound. I don't want to see him benefit off this when, you know, he put me through something that shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
What the proper thing there with Georgia statute, say somebody buys my house in a tax sale for $1,000, and I come and I say it's $1,200, and they say, well, I paid the following year's taxes $1,500, and I'm going to charge you interest on this and that. And if you look at the Georgia statute, it's wrote, and they didn't write it good at all. I think they wrote it confusingly to then leave it up to lawyers and judges to interpret it. And I ain't found a case law except for one 20 years ago where they did it, which the statute was written different then. I don't know how much weight it holds. And so they just did a very bad job. They could have made it clear. Because I've worked with attorneys over the years who have helped people redeem for me, and usually I just go with what they say, but they always tabulate it different. All of them tabulate it their own way. It's not a good system. And so say I go to redeem it, and the guy says I owe $1,600 or whatever, and I say no, it's $1,400, and he doesn't accept my $1,400 check, and he bars it. I'm responsible for going into the Superior Court of that county and filing a civil suit against that whole barment and him and that whole thing before the barment deadline is up, because we can't come to an agreement. He won't accept my check, and I won't acquiesce and pay what he wants. It's a dispute at that point. Him as a barment holder, though, but if I don't go file suit, by the time that barment closes, then I'm in a bind. I guess I could always appeal if he went to quiet the title, which is what Elbert done. But that's why I saw a case law from back in 1943 on that. And it's still the only one I see that's on file. And I guess the reason they stipulate the person who's trying to buy it back is on them to go file a suit and take it to court is because who's to say who's right? The guy redeeming may be right. The other guy may be right. But long story short, they can't come to an agreement. And when I mailed that check back, I basically was letting them know by doing that act, hey, I'm not accepting this. Now, I didn't accept it because it was sketchy, because I just didn't accept the whole thing. I didn't like the way that went. When I redeem, if I do it without a lawyer, we meet at the courthouse, we meet where the notary is. You have to be the one who was on that tax deed, and if you're not, you have to, and I hadn't had this happen where they had to prove, but you got to prove that you're a direct heir, not a cousin, not a niece, a next of kin. And if you are on the will, show me in probate court, show me the will, or show me where you're the one that has right to this property. And we meet in person, and you bring your ID, you know. I've never had none where I just check my P.O. box and there's a check and whatever. And the more I dug into it, the more I realized that there was something going on there.
Yeah.
Because there's no motivation for him to even keep the property and fix it up to sell it.
No.
And I guess he could have rented it, but it was, if they're saying it's structurally unrepairable to me, then it's the same for him.
Exactly. Yeah. He has some scheme, for sure. But on these, when you do the purchase through a tax sale, I mean, are you obligated? Do you have to sell it back to him?
Yeah. I mean, if you can verify, if Elbert would have called me from prison, like he should have done, why not just call me from prison? You know?
Yeah.
Because what happens, if I buy your house in a tax sale in October of 2023, within 60 to 90 days, that tax commissioner is obligated to send you a letter where she sent your tax bills to, saying that, hey, we recently sold your property in this tax sale. The person who bought it is ABC Company. Their phone number is this number. Because people reach out to me that way a lot. Hey, did you buy, I'm getting this letter saying, from the tax office saying you bought my property at a sale. Oh my God, can I get it back? They think they lost the property. I'm like, yes, you can redeem it. Yes, this is, let me go see what I bought it for. And I tabulate the percentage and I say, this is what you owe me. They're like, okay, when can I pay you? So if his address, if his tax bill is going, whatever tax address, I think it was, probably was 412 Baytree. Miss Mildred, who still I've never talked to on the phone yet, she has, she got notice. You're telling me she didn't tell him, hey, the house went in a tax sale? When she would have known because they wasn't paying the taxes.
So they don't have a right of, like for us, if there's a foreclosure that happens, we have 1 year right of redemption.
Yeah, so does he. So does he. So he knew it was whatever. Why not call me? Why have a lady call me who wouldn't tell me her name, where she was from, or nothing about herself?
But if you bought this back in 18, I mean, and it's 2023, hasn't his time to redeem it passed?
Well, he's disputing and saying the barment wasn't any good. He's saying the barment was not sufficient because
the barment is the time he had to redeem it?
Yeah, we started the barment in 19, and you've got 45 days once, the sheriff's come and serves you. And so his wife got served, but his wife, she acts like, I think I do got emails where the guy that did the foreclosure barment, David Basil at the time. So follow me here. One guy did the barment, another guy did the quiet title because I couldn't afford what the barment guy was going to charge me to do the quiet. So I got another guy to do the quiet he did it for cheaper, and that's all he does, and he's really good at it. But anyway, he did the quiet. I didn't feel like this guy was up to snuff. He wasn't wanting to submit my certified mail evidence. Like he's like, yeah, we'll just play it by ear. We'll go to trial and see how the cookie crumbles, basically. And I was like, I don't know, dude. That don't sound right. So I quit using him. I've got another attorney now I'm using for the actual case.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's how that went. Well, there's the foreclosure guy, David Basil. He's got email correspondence between him and the tax commissioner in Grady County that said Mary, which is Mildred Walker, came up there to her office and was asking her to email him. She got a notice with his email, which is how she had the email, and his cell phone number. Why did Mary Walker not email him directly or pick up the phone and call him? Is she not mentally capable of dialing a number and talking? So, and then I find out when I read the Pacer account that Mildred Walker was an unindicted co-conspirator and that she's not a dummy. And
right.
See, they were sketchy. They just they never wanted to communicate with my attorney. Maybe they knew my attorney knew, whatever, or when he deeded it back, he was going to deed it with a tax deed of redemption instead of just a regular quitclaim deed, which they could technically say was me quitclaiming my interest to somebody on that chain of title. I
guess I'm just lost that he thinks he would have any
claim to
right
damages
to that property since the time has passed. It's 4 years down the road.
Well, the quiet title was filed in 2021, which was technically three and a half years. It was filed in August 2021. So he raised his dispute then. But he had a year after he got out of jail to go and still serve a suit disputing the barment. He's just trying to get him some money. In a greasy way, and he knows he can't derive income from that property anymore unless he can. His scheme with me didn't work. He told me on the video he doesn't want the property back because he knows if it's ruled in court that the barment was whatever, then I'm gonna have to redo the barment, and I've got an attorney now, and that's gonna throw that off. And he knows that I'm privy to it. He thought by doing that before. Because I'd put a lien on 13 properties that year, or maybe more than that, 14. He just thought I would just sign it, take the check, and send it back, and I would pay no attention to the property. He knows now that I'm not a dummy, that I've learned a lot in that sale to now, and he knows I know as much or more than most attorneys do about tax deed law, and he knows he's pissed me off at this point. If he wins in court, I'm going to keep my eye on that property and go tell somebody if I see something sketchy being done with the chain of title.
Yeah.
And so he knows that now. And, he's just trying to get out of it and get some kind of judgment for money that he's not really owed or shouldn't have right to. And it's whatever. And I just wanted to alert y'all if he is to prevail, and title is put back in his name, to kind of keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Really keep an eye on that. And I tell you this too, and I don't know why, but I can never get the attorneys to file a motion to discovery of his call records, inbound and outbound, when he was in jail, from then to now, or when he got letters in mail. Am I correct in this? At the prison, they open up the mail and copy it through a machine to make sure what's being sent in and out, whatever?
Yes.
I could never get these attorneys to do that. They always said, I don't think it's necessary. I said, well, I do. I said, my barman attorney that did the barman said he searched his database and couldn't find him. He didn't think he was in jail. I said, if anything, we could see evidence on letters where he knew that he had been served or Mary had been served, and he knew he had 30 days to redeem the property, and he would have had the information. Recorded phone calls between him and Mildred. I said, I guarantee you there's an attorney. My gut says there's an attorney in Cairo, Georgia, who he's never retained. The attorney probably doesn't want to be on record as representing him because he's a city attorney. And I've had some run-ins with the city attorney on other stuff. I guarantee you they've had phone calls and conversations. And I guarantee you Albert's had phone calls and conversations with people who were involved in what was going to be that scheme with him. And I bet you there's a treasure trove of stuff there. I know there is. And
Probably.
And when on my calendar call, end of last year, when I didn't have this litigation attorney I just got, I showed up to the calendar call myself, and I says, my old attorney's saying y'all never opened up for discovery. She said, I did. I says, well, can I please have more time to get this discovery? And she opened it up just for that. When I got this new attorney, I said, look, we've got to file this discovery. If I hire you and send you this money, we've got to request this in discovery. Well, he comes back and says, look, she reopened it a year ago and nobody took advantage. She's not going to reopen. I said, I'm telling you, normally a judge wouldn't. She gave me more time and pushed it off just for that. But he never would. I do not understand it at all. It's almost like my attorneys are getting paid off on the back end. Hey, don't open up this discovery. There's too much there. But I would like, and I'm getting real paranoid at that point. But in my gut, like, something's weird. It doesn't cost an attorney much. It's not much billable hours. It's not a big hassle to reach out and serve that motion to discovery to the court and file for discovery and then do a motion to compel, because I know he's not going to. I know there's a ton of stuff there. And that would be something on y'all's end. I know he's still under prison and parole and whatnot. There's something on y'all's end to find in case he's trying to scheme and defraud the government out of getting that house out free and clear without y'all's lien being on it and depriving y'all, in theory, the 200-something thousand, even though it wouldn't be. It would be a portion of y'all's money.
Yeah. It sounds like he already has by not paying the taxes and then you purchasing it.
Yeah, he should have kept up the taxes. Do you know, and my attorney asked me this, this was from another angle. I wish he'd have just filed the discovery. That was the main thing, because we got court here in like a week. But I told him, he was like, there's got to be something in that federal order that bars him from being involved in any more real estate investing or anything like that. I said, I don't know if there is. There's so much files there, but I figured you would know if there was.
Yeah, no, not now, because he's kind of in a gray area because he's still in BOP, so he's not under probation. Probation could direct him to have no real estate transactions without getting their approval. But right now where he's at, we can't tell him he can't buy real estate. We want him to buy real estate so we can lien it, and then if he tries to sell it, we'll get the money from it. But if he's doing, like he's doing on all this property, because I think every piece of property has went to a tax sale that he had ownership in.
Wow.
So, and those tax sales pretty much act like a foreclosure and distinguish our liens.
Have y'all ever, cause when I went to the Pacer account, I seen there was one, in Moultrie, right? And some other towns right around
He's
there.
got property everywhere, yeah.
So I guarantee you he allowed those properties to go in tax sale and either had somebody he knew there buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Or had them buy it and had this scheme where they send a letter to get it redeemed and then foreclose it with one of his party's interests, one of the individuals he uses. I'd be curious to see when you go back and look at those other properties. And
well, from what I can tell now through the tax assessor records, it's still showing in his name, but we've gotten notices from the tax assessor saying that, it's going to go up for sale.
Has that been recent?
It was in, let's see, it was in September of 23.
Well, that was
it's in Worth County.
Worth County. I actually did some digging. There was one called Oak Street or Oak something. That was either in Meigs or Pelham or Thomasville or Moultrie. I actually looked up that property and it looked like it had sold. But maybe he sold that before the trial.
He may have. I did notice there was some property that he had sold. He was convicted in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when our lien went on, was in 2016.
Okay. Well, in my experience, Department of Revenue with the state, the IRS, this is the only one I've dealt with, the Department of Justice lien, but it seems like they never answer or they never reply. And
if it gets served in our district, we do. We have a department that actually responds to those cases.
Yeah.
That's why when I said we never received notice from yours, but I don't know that it's going to make much difference. But
I'll tell you, and I'll get more nuance with you on that. Man, I have heard, and I think this, and the reason I think the city attorneys work with him, I think if I quit claimed it or would have allowed Elbert, or even right now, if Elbert was to drop the suit and I signed it over back to Elbert, right? Or just whoever, whatever patsy he was going to use. Something tells me he's already worked out something with that city attorney. Because that city attorney is like the godfather in that town. He tells the city manager, the inspector, and the code enforcers where they can eat at and when they can use the bathroom. I mean, he tells them what to do. He's 75. He holds a lot of weight. He's been the attorney in that town for the last probably 3 decades. And so he tells the city what to do. I just don't think, I'm not from Cairo. I think somebody put something in his ear about me. And maybe Elbert was the one and said, this guy, man, he ain't letting me redeem. And the lawyer, I could see the lawyer being in on the scheme and seeing what Elbert's trying to do. And he's the kind of guy, and I've heard this from an acquaintance of mine that uses him. If you pay him the money and he's your attorney, he'll bend whatever or break whatever rule you need broken for it. And so he doesn't have ethics. And I mean, God, it'd be a blessing, I guess, in theory. You want an attorney like that who will go to war for you and bend the rules for you. But I could see Elbert paying him some money under the table and him telling Elbert, well, I can't represent you on paper because it's a conflict of interest and I'm the one prosecuting, trying to tear this house down and ruin this guy's investment for your sake. But I'm doing it in a governmental role, but I'm working for private interest. He could probably be disbarred for that. I could probably do a lawsuit in theory against the attorney in Elbert if I was to find out that. And I think if I'd have got the discovery on those prison phone calls, I think that's what it might have shown me. And I think if I was to sign over to Elbert tomorrow, magically, they would allow Elbert to do whatever he wanted to do. Foreclose
that's what I wonder.
Quiet it, turn around and claim a tree fell on it. or something, or cut it. There's some big pine trees around on that lot. Cut them down on it, whatever. And all he had to do was throw the attorney $1,000 or $2,000, and the attorney would have acquiesced and went along with whatever scheme he had. That's something in my gut that I feel is going on, and knowing the nature and the nature of people down here, you got to live here to know that a lot of these attorneys and stuff, they feel like they can get away with murder and whatever they want to. And if you get one of them on your side, you can get away with whatever you want to. And I know y'all are probably like, no way, but it happens. I mean.
Oh, no. Nothing surprises me.
No, it should. It should. I'm 38, and from the time when I first bought this at the tax sale to what I know now, I'm totally disillusioned on everything. And I'm just, it depresses you, and you have these feelings in your gut, like, I hope it's not true. And then they turn out to be true, and it just breaks you even more. You're hoping you're wrong. And, but that's a more nuanced look. I'm kind of really digging in there. And so that makes me more entrenched. Like, I don't want to let him get over on the system. Because I read his case. It was obvious what he did.
I mean, your property was associated with it.
Yeah, and the fact that he burned it down back to back to back. I mean, a house doesn't catch fire like that. And he's so brazen and arrogant. He's stupid. He's not even smart. I mean, of course that's going to red flag. And then he was on the construction company that was getting the proceeds from the payout, and it was the same people buying and setting fire and not making mortgage payments. And I mean, it's just, who wasn't going to find that out?
Yeah.
And he's very, like I said, he's confident. He was saying he was going to beat the case. He was appealing it, and y'all convicted him in 2016. He was going to beat all that. And so, and he didn't. I don't think he did, but if you watch the video that I've submitted to him and to my lawyer to submit, it's a 13-minute video. I got a YouTube channel just of a lot of legal stuff I do. And I got a video on that. I got a video of me being at the city of Cairo, and the utilities lady looking up the records and saying that they don't have record of any water or power being turned on there because it's a co-op. The city does the water and power. It hadn't been turned on since 2013, and Albert told me with a straight face that thing was, people were living in that house when he went off to jail. And the only thing that's on there was the garbage. Well, that was probably just to throw away debris or clean up the yard. And then the prosecutor says he hadn't done anything with that house since 2006 that she knew of. And you look back at the history on that property, it kept changing hands back and forth. Like, deeded to this one, deeded back, deeded this, deeded back.
Yeah,
it was,
and I can tell you some of those involved in that were co-conspirators in this case.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Shirley and Daryl Burt, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've gotten very acquainted with him because I've had to. And I've learned more than I wish I did know about him and whatever. The reason I quiet titled because I paid an attorney $4,500 and he showed the court the one court case we had unprepared. And we had a lot of phone conversations, and he billed me for he kind of did it chinksy. I guess technically you can, but he just did a very poor job. And a lot of my costs, when I told Albert $10,000, I said, look, I paid $4,500 so they wouldn't put all these the city wouldn't fine and lien and send their hobnobbing bigwig buddy a contractor over there to tear it down and bill me $8,000 or $9,000. I could have tore it down with renting an excavator and got one of my guys to do it for $1,000 or $2,000. I said that's why I put a lot of money towards this Albert just so more liens wouldn't go on the property. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care if the city puts a $50,000 lien on it. That doesn't matter to him. He's looking at a whole different place. But they would never do that, I don't feel, because I feel he's worked that attorney there. But even if he hadn't, he wouldn't care. So I definitely think, what?
If you buy these properties at a tax sale, and what's the benefit to buy those if you're going to sell them back? Can you ask for more money than what you bought it for?
Yeah, say I buy it for $1,000, and they redeem it a week later, or they do it a week or up to a year, it's 20% interest. A lot of people do it as opposed to putting it in an annuity or playing the stock market because they feel like it's concrete.
Okay.
But it's not risk-free because sometimes a lot of these Georgia towns now are abating so many properties. They're so aggressive. And they allow the county to sell them for a tax sale knowing that they're going to tear it down.
Yeah.
I think that's a little unethical. Don't get somebody to pay the starting bid's $5,000 because there's $5,000 in back taxes owed from 2 years not being paid. You get this person from out of town or this local person that's green around the eyes or just looking to get into real estate because that's what everybody's trying to do, I guess. And they go and they start the bid off at $5,000 and they run it up and they end up paying $9,000. And they think it's some shotgun house and they made off okay. Come to find out, the cities had that on the tear down list and they tear it down in that year's time. And you can't do anything as a tax lien holder. But the tax commission don't care. They're just trying to get some revenue, get some people to pay some taxes so they can get it up on the tax roll. They don't care if the buyer's going to get screwed over. And so some of these houses you buy, like Bond Villa's one, I got now with the 3,000 retainer, I've got 13,000 some change in that property. And what do I have at this point? I have a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not, in their old boy network over there, they'd probably let me spend a bunch of money to renovate it, but they deemed it structurally unrepairable, and, it's an expensive lesson to learn. So that's why people do these. You get interest. If they don't get it back within a year, you do a barment. I've gotten so used to this, and I've grown to distrust so many lawyers. I've paid lawyers to do barments, and they go through it, and they don't even do that. They do real estate law. They don't do tax deed law, and they don't even do it right. I've had them do barments, and the other party hire an attorney that said the barment wasn't right. I feel like I've hired attorneys to do something for me, and they have an investor buddy that goes by and looks at the property, and then that attorney puts their investor buddy in with the people who could redeem it but probably aren't, and they go and they do a backdoor deal where that investor pays that person off to get title to it, and they just pay my lien off, and they end up with the property. When I do the barment myself, it's weird. I don't have a lot of people redeem, or when they reach out, I tell them the amount, and then that's it. So I've grown to distrust the attorneys where I live at because they're hobnobbing at Rotary Club once a month, or they're hanging out. They're at the country club. So if these lawyers got a friend, they say, "Hey, Bobby, there's this property. Some guy just paid me to foreclose, but it's really nice, and I can get you in touch with the owner because they've looked them up. They know where they live at, and they send them over there and they buy it out from under me." So I started doing my own barments, and if you don't do your own barments, it can run you anywhere from $700 to $1,000. And if you buy a lot, it's almost silly to buy a lot at a tax sale because your quiet title and foreclosure costs, unless it's a really nice lot, it's going to run you more. And you got to think, who don't pay their taxes? People in the rough part of town. So it's an art to it. It's a little bit of a science to it. It's not foolproof. And I've taken some losses over the years, but obviously I've taken a little bit more gains, or I wouldn't keep doing it. So that's the way that works. You have a year. If they don't redeem it in that year, a lot of people are under the mirage that they just end up with that property. You don't. You have to do the barment. If you don't do the barment, after 4 years, you can get prescription, what's called by prescription. You can get clear title, bar the title by prescription. But the legal prescription is, I'm not going to get into it. It's basically, you have to show, either you have to move somebody in there and let them rent it, and they pay rent to you. You move in there and get the light bill put in your name. If it's a piece of land, you fence it and cut the grass and keep it up. You make it obvious that it's yours. And that's 4 years to run. That could be 4 years.
And then that would automatically transfer to your name?
Yeah, that could be, and that's either 4 years after the year's up, because technically you're not supposed to trespass for a year. And technically,
Okay.
you're not supposed to trespass until you do the barment. So that's another legal play on words. If it's by prescription, prescription is you were in that, you had possession of it legally. If you don't never do a tax deed barment, you never really had legal authority to trespass onto that property. So really, the best way to do it is do a barment. So I would watch.
And if you do a barment, do you have to also do the quiet title?
You don't have to. You have what's called, you have like a dirty title, like a salvage title to a car. You don't have clear title. You have, and to get fee simple title, to get a clear title, merchantable title that a bank would loan money on against, you have to quiet the title, usually against the world. Especially in South Georgia, banks will make you do it against the world because South Georgia's behind Atlanta and they didn't do clear plats and stuff like that, I guess, until later.
Mm-hmm.
So, quiet title. The only reason I'm doing the quiet title here is because I know Elbert's still out there thinking that he's supposed to be able to redeem it. But when I learned more about Elbert, I didn't allow him to come after the barment date and redeem it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted him to take it to court to get his for it to come out and open, because if the court rules in it, it makes it more concrete. Look, it's going back in your name as yours. You can't sign this title away now.
Yeah.
And y'all need to stay on top of those properties so he just don't try to sign it over.
Right.
Hey man, this property, this house is worth $30,000, but he might not even tell him it's got a lien on it. Hey, give me $5,000, I'll quit claim deed it to you. And if the person don't go do their title work, they don't see that y'all's lien on there.
But now, if you're saying that you have to go through the quiet title to remove the liens, then we would still cloudy up a title.
Well, here's the thing. If the barment's done right, in theory, the barment cancels the liens.
Okay.
And the quiet
but they
title...
have to file a barment.
And you have to file bond. The quiet title is how I understand it, you go into the courts and saying, hey, look, I did this barment correctly. It had 10 liens on it. They're all out of luck. See, we served them. Look, we did it according to the statute. We just need the court to rule. Final say, hey, yep, your barment was right. This is clear title. It's yours. Somebody can buy this and get a mortgage loan to do it.
Okay.
And, in theory, if you do a barment and don't do the quiet titles, you can still sell it to somebody. And if the attorney they're working with is comfortable doing it, they can pay you cash for it, but they can't really get a loan to buy it. But see, Albert's on record. If he could find somebody goofy enough to give him money and just sign it over and just quit claim it, quote unquote, that guy can take that PT 61 and quit claim to the clerk's office and put it in their name like they bought it from Albert and never pay off the liens y'all had. I'm surprised Albert.
But I'm thinking then if that person were to try to sell, no one's ever going to have a clear title because we still have a lien on it.
You still had the lien on it, and Albert would have to do that to somebody unsuspecting, somebody that would fall for that.
Right.
Really, him letting it go in a tax sale and getting a buddy of theirs to get a sucker to sign over just a regular quitclaim deed back to him, where he felt like he could then sign it back to somebody, and then they could then foreclose it and then quiet it if they still wanted to at that point against somebody's lien like y'all's lien, which is very intimidating. And I guess owing a finance company from 6 years back $3,000 versus owing the Department of Justice $220,000, there's a difference there. And that, from what I've been told, that Department of Justice lien, it's a stubborn one to get rid of.
Right.
The attorney was negotiating with the Northern District, and the way he made it out, he had to really finagle and suck up to them and politic.
See, here's the thing, though, that they weren't negotiating in the right district.
Yeah, and that's an argument. Yeah, and that's an argument y'all have. Because at this point, I wouldn't even, if I was trying to be tactful, I might say, well, still whatever. Well, I don't care. I know the property is what it is and it's worth, I don't care if y'all kept the lien on it.
Right.
At this point. I did this to clear Albert out, so when the city goes to tear it down, I'm not sitting here investing money to either demolish shit, or I'm not investing money in something that I can't even get this guy cleared off.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, and I've been told before, hey, if this doesn't go through, you did a barment, you can still rent it out, but you can never sell this property. You can't really do much with it. But because they're not allowing permits, I haven't been able to derive a cent from it anyway. I hadn't got anything. The only gift I got from this was I got to cut the grass once a year. They told me to board up the window to dodge, I guess, a code fine. I did that. Somebody took those down. Somebody went in the house, actually, since I've done that. But that's been
Probably Albert.
I'm sure Albert, when he got out of jail. Yeah, it coincided with when he got let out for COVID and when the door was open. The trusses are so uneven now, they're bowing, that it's caused the drywall sheets to just eventually drop off in one room. And I can get up there. You can get up, look up in the attic, and I got pictures of the trusses being charred. They're still burned. I guess over time they just got weaker and weaker. All I've gotten is cutting it once a year and paying the taxes on it. And there's been years I've debated on even keeping it, and so I'll go back and pay the late fees. But Albert don't want it back. He just wanting him some quick, easy money for nothing. There's
a scheme or something there. I don't understand. If you had his wife served, I don't understand how they could be disputing the date.
Oh, well, she got served by the sheriff. Only reason she went there is because the cop was at the door knocking. She thought it might have been serious. How could they dispute the right of redemption time? Or he's saying that no? Well, because they sent that check. They sent the check to me. They sent.
So wasn't the check just sent recently?
No, it was sent shortly after the year had passed, when it was still open. I hadn't barred the barment. She hadn't got her barment notice. I'd already been speaking with the attorney, and we'd already been setting it up. And I was telling him how I configured the numbers, and he was telling me he'll have to go back and review them. That sounds like it may not be right. And I've got emails of me and the barman attorney saying, "Hey, is 1,900 right, or should it be 2,200 or 2,300?" Because I was still not as experienced as I am now. And so I'm like, but here's this attorney in Carrollton, Georgia, that's been doing this. That's all he does is tax these, and he's been doing it for a long time. I'm going to go what the amount he says, and I don't want to let them redeem for a lesser amount when I could have got more. And so that's on.
Now, did you trust the attorney in Carrollton?
Have I did what?
Did you trust the attorney in Carrollton that you said you were dealing with on the tax deed?
Yeah, I mean, he showed me.
You think he's knowledgeable?
Yeah. He messed up on one thing. In the newspaper, he put the barment deadline 15 on this brick house. That was actually the nicest one out of all of them. She ended up redeeming it. On the sheriff's notice, she said the date was the 19th and not the 15th. But, they could have took that and did a PDF changer to it and said he put the 19th. But he that may have been his office girl putting the wrong date. That's the only rift I have with what he did, is he screwed up that one property, and that was the nicest one. And who's to say? I'm almost convinced this happens, where somebody goes to an attorney, and that attorney reaches out to the attorney and say, "I'm using this out of town," and says, "Hey, this is how we're going to do this. You're going to say that you messed up on the date because I got an investor that's really eyeing this, and you just tell us what you would need, and he can send you a check if you'll cooperate with us." I'm pretty sure that happens regularly. From what I've seen in the world, I've had some health issues in the past where I've seen doctors not really try. You grow up thinking the police never lie, the doctors really try to help you, and your attorney is there to fight for you and not other people and won't say you out. But it seems like I've found different, and so I don't. a lawyer would justify their conscience that it makes more dollars and more sense for them to do A, even though A isn't the most right thing to do. I think that happens every town across the country about every week. But and so
would you mind to give me the name of the attorney in Carrollton?
David Basil.
Oh, that's okay. That's who you said. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's the one doing your. Is it B-A? How do you spell his last name?
Basil.
Okay. And he's the one that's doing your quiet title now.
No, this is a guy named Michael Dominy. I'd found him. He's been pretty zealous. He still didn't file the motion for discovery. I'm upset about it, but he's been better than the other ones. He's trying, and that's more than what I've gotten from the attorneys in the past. But I found him. I Googled Fulton County tax deed civil litigation. I Googled that, and all my population, I spent a week calling people. Not constantly, but pretty constant.
I can't imagine you actually found someone.
Nobody. I was like, I'll pay some money. Some of the people want it's like $7,500 up front. I'm like, look, dude, it's scary the amount I'm getting sued for, but I know this case up and down, and I know a good bit. If I was an attorney and knew how to file, I don't even know how to electronically file a motion for discovery or motion to compel. If I did, I probably would have tried the case myself. I probably would have found what I was looking for 2 years ago, and I would have probably nailed Elbert to the wall, to the floor, wherever I wanted to. And he'd have been running, trying to duck out of this case and just not showing up the calendar call. Well, I can tell you probably know more than any attorney you're going to find right now, and that's probably why the retainer was so high, because they don't. It's going to take them a lot of work to figure out. It does. Yeah, because they got other cases. My case is the most important case to me, but not to them. They got other cases that pay them more money, and they know the people more, and they don't know me, and I'm just some guy in South Georgia, and I had to get a Fulton attorney because the hearings up there, because the guy that did the quiet title lived up there, and a couple of the lien holders, they were in Fulton County, so technically on a conventional, you can file where any one of the lien holders are. Quiet title against the world, you have to do it down here. And I knew I wouldn't get a fair shot. It's a kangaroo court down here. No telling what's going to happen. Two, for the best bang for my buck, was up there in Georgia. I was up near Atlanta, because in Atlanta you got attorneys that all they do is quiet title and tax deed, because Fulton County has, my God, so you can make a lucrative practice out of just doing that. But you can't down here. And two, like I said, to do it in Grady County, in this banana republic down here, I probably did better doing it up there. But you can. Fulton County will play it more even because they don't know either one of us, I would assume, and that's all I ask is for a even judge. But that's the people that I'm using. That's the attorneys. Mr. Dominy don't know. He didn't do the quiet title or do the services on that. He's more just trying to get me out of this little whatever I'm in. So Well, like I said, we don't see a lot of these, but we're not real familiar. We're the U.S. Attorney's Office, and these tax deeds are like confusing to us. Like, okay, what's going on here? So you've been a wealth of information for me today. I hope you record our conversations. You can just go back and play back if you need to. Yeah. I'll tell you how paranoid I've gotten. I record all my conversations now, and I have code enforcers in another county, and they'll just call me and just dog the heck out of me and just flaunt their arrogance and, like, flaunt how bad they do me. And I was trying to find an attorney to bring a lawsuit. They tore down a house in Bainbridge, Georgia, and I'm sitting here still thinking there's attorneys out there that want to go against the grain and slay the dragon when right's right. And I told this attorney who was local, I said, hey, I got a big case. He said, well, send me everything you got. He said, yeah, I think we can do this. And I sent him all my voice memos, my recordings of just how I have these inspectors and code enforcers just, it don't look good. It wouldn't look good in front of a jury or a court. And and even doing stuff that technically is a violation of the statute. It's one thing for them to be arrogant and tell me they don't like me. And we just don't like you. And they, to an extent, basically said that, but they actually on phone require me to do stuff that's over and above the statute. And I've got other investors in town secretly videoed of them admitting what they've gotten by with and what the inspectors let them by with, even when the house is condemned. And so I think, and then a week later he tells me, hey, I've got a full schedule. I don't think I'm going to be able to take that case. I think he went and took that to them and said, look, this guy's got y'all on recording. They don't really, they're not dickheads. They haven't been the dickheads that they're used to being, that they were for a year. And in a small town, you like to think that didn't happen, but I know it happened. And because their actions show different. So, I don't know why I made that point. Oh, because I record. Yeah, it's paid dividends for me. That's why I do it. So, but,
Well, I mean, good luck. I hope, how it ends up how you
want it to do.
Want it to end up. I'm not sure if you want it or not, but, just let me know if something happens and it goes back to Mr. Elbert.
I will. I'll keep on the loop. What I see happening is probably they're going to say his counterclaim for damages is bogus. But now technically, by just the letter of the law, not maybe the spirit of the law, but the letter of it, they should have went and filed a suit if I rejected their tender. Their one tender they made, I rejected it. But I made an effort to send it back. Technically, the debarment's final, and that's it. And I would prevail. If I don't, and they say the debarment was not correct, then I would just have to do a re-tax debarment. And that's not something Elbert wants anyway. Elbert doesn't want to redeem it the regular way anyway, where my lawyer works up the tax deed on it to where it says in the deed that none of the liens are removed by me doing this back to whatever Elbert. So that would be a loss for Elbert, and if I don't end up with the property, I don't end up with the property. It sucks that I've had a loss here. In theory, I could tear it down, build back a house, and back out making a little bit of money maybe. But that would take me a year or two from now to do, and have the money to do, and whatever. So for the here and now, it's been a burden. I would like to keep it. If I lost it, I wouldn't break my heart. I dang sure don't want to lose the damages claim.
Right.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Sure.
But I'm here. Y'all call me if you ever need anything. And
I'm going to discuss this with my attorney. He's going to be in the office on Thursday, and he may reach out to you because he's new. And again, you've been a wealth of information. So he may. His name is Mike Morrell, and he may reach out to you.
Yeah.
So if you happen to see a number pop up, if he leaves a message, that
legally the main interest to y'all would be to trying to pay off what I got in it on what y'all were obligated to pay to get it back clear. Two would be if him giving me that deed with Shamika Farrell on there, which Miss McElwain, that name rang a bell to her. If he didn't show intent to try to get the property, finagle the property out of y'all's grasp or whatever, if he didn't act, I know it's not moral, is it? Whatever. I know with federal, the proof, the burden isn't what it is at the state level. But anyway, I have a video of us doing that, and I still have the deed. In fact, he wanted me to give him the deed back as I was walking away from his house. I said, no, Elbert, I think I'll keep this, as I was walking off. So he wanted it back. He didn't want that out. He's ticked.
But you did keep it?
I did keep it. Yes, I did. I got the original and my copies.
Interesting. Okay. Well, like I said, the attorney may reach out to you for questions or a little more guidance or,
Okay.
from there. if there's anything you need from us, I don't know how much we can really help you. You're not a victim on the case, but
I'd like to subpoena Miss Leah, but she says she's not able to testify.
I don't know. If she tells you she couldn't, then she probably cannot.
Okay, yeah, she told me she could.
So I know you spoke with her, and I think if she could help, she would have, if it was possible. But if she said she couldn't, then she probably cannot.
Okay, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Okay, all right. Well,
well, good luck.
I appreciate it. Thanks for your call.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.